The Hard Count is presented by BetMGM. As y'all know by now, we've teamed up with BetMGM this college football season. We'll be using their lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for all of you each week. Now, when you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up yet for BetMGM, use bonus code HARDCOUNT, and you'll get up to $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. 1, download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code HARDCOUNT. 2, deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. Step 3, you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code HARDCOUNT when you sign up. Let's make this college football season 1 for the books. Let's make it legendary. Let's get to the show. Welcome to the Hard Count presented by BetMGM. It is Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. The sickos, Josh, though, they know this day as National Freaking Signing Day. Still has the fastball. For my money, we're still talking about flips, talking about exciting moves across the rankings. If y'all are new to this show, welcome college football to the Buck College Football year-round. But with it being National Signing Day, we got to bring on the best in the business, National Recruiting Analyst, here for us with Rivals, probably the right word to use, but Rivals on 3, kind of a tandem situation there.
Best recruiting. Where's Steve?
Steve is around here somewhere. Steve is out here
because you said the best recruiting analyst. But
sure,
recruiting analyst.
I put him in like the insider category.
Look, the people on this channel know if they think signing day, they think you and I, because there was a period of time where I didn't have a channel. Go subscribe to the Rivals Recruit channel.
Do it right now.
And you and I used to break down signing day on this channel in full. Now we just do a little 45-minute wrap up. But you know, the sickos are here.
Sickos are here, man,
and they know that the first Wednesday in December. That's a new thing. The first Wednesday in December. It used to be the first Wednesday in February. But the first Wednesday in December is when it all goes down. And we had a fun day today. And this is in real time, so it's not quite over. But I would say, as we tape this at close to 1 p.m. Central Time, I'd say about 90% of the hay's in the barn.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe 95%.
A couple of the things you're tracking and keeping a pulse on. But like you said, the majority of what's going to happen here has already happened. But we kind of got the day started with a bang here, Josh, and it was tangentially related to recruiting. Brian Hartline,
right?
OC for Ohio State, receivers coach for Ohio State. Dude just pitches gas off the mound when it comes to developing wide receivers, recruiting the state of Florida. He's taken the head coaching job at USF. Now, this is obviously huge for USF, big getting Brian Hartline. There's a lot of recruiting juice there, and at some point in time, I think we all assumed Brian Hartline would be a head coach. But on the Ohio State side of things, Josh, what was your initial takeaway when hearing he was going to be the next guy out there at USF?
Well, I am a USF guy, not because I graduated from college there. I did not, but I live in Tampa, Florida, St. Petersburg. I did live in Tampa for 9 years. I was very close to the Jim Leavitt coaching staff, the Skip Holtz coaching staff, the Willie Taggart. Haven't been as close in recent years to the new staffs, but I thought this was a great hire. I thought it was a great fit. I thought that USF really knocked it out of the park. I was told that it was going to be a wide search, probably a drawn-out one because, hey, signing day, the way Alex Golesh left, the timing of it all. Did not expect Brian Hartline. Did not expect it to happen now, but I think it's a great hire for them. I think that until USF gets out of the conference that they're at, I think the best case scenario is for them to hire young up-and-coming coaches that come in and leave the program in a better place they left it, and they leave, and it works out for everybody, right? Like Brian Hartline didn't grow up dreaming of coaching the USF Bulls, and USF Bull.
Maybe,
I mean, hey, I just mean in terms of like his entire. This isn't it. He's not.
Sure.
Jim Leavitt would be there if they allowed Jim Leavitt still to be there. Whereas I think Brian Hartline is going to come here. Come to USF, win some ball games, and move on, and everybody's going to be happy. Ideally, that's the move. And he's done such a great job of recruiting, not just the state of Florida, but Dade County. The reason everybody recruits the state of Florida is because of Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties, and he runs that show. I mean, he's tied in really well with the 7-on-7 coaches, Brett Getz over at South Florida Express, Woodrow Grady at Team Tampa. He knows the people you need to know to be successful in that state, and that's why he's done so. Now he puts on the Bulls logo. I think he'll be a great coach there, and I think if you're Ohio State, I think you always knew this day would come.
Yeah, you've been preparing for this.
I mean, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, you think you stay there for forever.
Right.
It's like
as the wide receiver OC and Namo. Like, I don't think that's going to be his resting place.
Everyone knew this was at some point in time going to be a reality, whether it was USF. I know Penn State was a conversation. I mean, Kentucky, it sounds like he was in the mix for that job at a certain point in time. The Ohio State side of this, Josh, is where I want to settle him for a second. Yeah. There's no way to spin this as a good thing in any way, shape, or form if you're Ohio State. You lost one of the best, if not the best receiver coach in college football, one of the best recruiters in college football, but at the same time, you're like, that sucks, but we're still Ohio State. We're still going to have elite quarterback play. We're still going to be able to attract top talent at every position. Is it a bummer that your receiver room now has a different individual coaching that thing that's not Brian Hartline? Sure. But I'm looking at this, I'm like, man, Ohio State, you're probably still in really good position to do whatever you want to do here the rest of the way. I mean, last year it was like you lose Chip Kelly. No way to, sugarcoat that as a good thing, but the Ohio State offense was still the Ohio State offense this year with a new play caller.
Right. And, Ohio State has had legendary coaches that have gone on and coached other places, and Ohio State finds himself right back where they belong on top. They just find a different coach, and that coach becomes a legendary coach. I'm starting to think, JD, has more to do with the logo in the program than maybe the coaches. Not to say that they're not great coaches and haven't done a good job at Ohio State, but I just think that there's something else to it beyond just being a good coach.
No, I think you're on the money. I think you're exactly on the money. And we see that other places too. Like for a while there, USC, it's been some time now, but they were running back U at one point with Reggie Bush and then
LSU,
Joe McKnight.
DBU.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
It's almost like you said, the logo has a reputation that precedes itself.
And they all have notable coaches. Like Corey Raymond is an LSU Tiger, but at some point, Corey Raymond's going to retire, move on, whatever. And they're still going to be able to recruit DBs.
Yeah, I don't think the Ohio State logo is losing any shine anytime here soon. But speaking of a logo having shine, and speaking of LSU, man, Lane Kiffin hitting the ground running. Now, at the time of us recording this is subject to change. So hear me clearly. The rankings may be different now.
What are the rankings right now?
LSU has been floating around the top 10. At the time of us recording this, they are number 11 in the Rivals Recruiting Rankings. Now, Josh, the first thing that stuck out to me here is I'm like, they haven't had a coach since the A&M game where they got embarrassed at the crib, and LSU's still just hanging out at number 11. Like, I think with all that we heard about what Brian Kelly wasn't doing on the recruiting trail, we know Lane Kiffin's going to work. We know Lane Kiffin's going to go to the portal, and with that logo behind his name, you have to believe he's going to do a more potent job recruiting the high school ranks as well. Just thoughts on LSU and where they're at now, National Signing Day, currently, again, with 2 5-stars in the boat, number 11 ranked class.
Well, I'm scrolling through the top 15 players in the state of Louisiana, the top 11, let's call it the top 11. All but 3 are committed to LSU. Those are the best of the best when it comes to in-state. And year in and year out, this is the case with LSU. That homegrown talent is not leaving the bayou, or at least they're not going too far. I mean, if they do leave, it's like Mississippi State or Texas. They're going to those border states. Those players, it's not like the state of Florida, where everybody knows that they can come into the state of Florida, and the best players are truly up for grabs. You don't see Florida State, Miami dominating in the state of Florida, but you still see LSU dominating the state of Louisiana with or without a coach. And I think this is one of the reasons why I think Lane Kiffin is such a great fit at LSU, Louisiana State University, almost. At LSU, is because we all know he doesn't love high school recruiting. Not to say he doesn't do it and do it at a high level. He knows how to do it, but he doesn't love to do it. And I think one of the great things about the LSU job is you have a built-in pipeline.
Yeah.
I mean, and Lane's not going to mess it up, but like you really got to mess it up for these kids not to want to come to LSU and play for the Tigers. So I think that is going to bode well for him. Obviously, LSU likes to get busy in the transfer portal, and so does Lane Kiffin. So I think they're number 11 ranking right now. They held on to almost all their 5-stars. We'll see what Lamar Brown does. Richard Anderson, Shea Dixon was reporting that he did send his letter in. Well, LSU hasn't announced that as of our taping, but we're waiting on Lamar Brown. We're waiting on Richard Anderson. Blaine Bradford is in. Trenton Henderson is in. Jabari Mack. The core of this class is in. I think we'll see Lamar Brown soon. And LSU's done an incredible job of closing in the chaos.
And LSU, too, what we talked about a second ago with the overall brand power they have in the state, I feel like the brand power of Lane Kiffin paired with what recruits see in their mind's eye of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Jaden Daniels and the Heisman, like the cool factor of LSU is so potent to where they're already going to recruit Louisiana. But now with the Kiffin effect, and he said it many times at his press conference, this is a powerful place where they have a great NIL setup. We're going to go swing a big bet and go land some top talent. And so LSU number 11 this year, would you be shocked if they're not consistently in the top 10 here going forward?
I would be shocked.
I would be as well.
I would be shocked. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, they got to win at a high level. Everybody has to win at a high level if you're going to continue to recruit well. Maybe you get a pass in year one. We saw that with Hugh Freeze.
Sure.
We've seen it. Certainly we've seen it, but I don't think Lane Kiffin has any intention of going in there not winning a lot of ball games. So as long as they win a lot of ball games, I don't think top 10 is the expectation. I think it's top 5, and then sprinkle in some top 3s if Lane Kiffin is really, truly going to be successful at LSU.
I'm so excited to watch
But he can
that.
do that, like I
so
said, because
for that.
how many 5-stars are within those borders? At least 1 to 2 every year. I mean, that could end up being, what do they have now? They have 2 5-stars. Yeah, they're both from in-state.
And the fact that they have that brand, like he said in his press conference as well, not to give away what we're talking about tomorrow on the show, we kind of translated his press conference. Good stuff. Make sure you subscribe.
Love it.
But he essentially was like, listen, we had people coming to play for our staff. He didn't say Ole Miss by name, but he sort of implied like Ole Miss isn't LSU from a logo point of view. We're going to be just fine acquiring talent. And to what you just said about the pipeline in Louisiana, it's
They are going to be.
good time to be a Tiger. One other new coach that I want to just touch on here for a second. At the time of us recording, Florida hanging in the top 15.
Yeah.
Number 13, Jon Sumrall and the guys. Kind of a unique situation with that whole timeline and Billy Napier's firing and Jon Sumrall's hiring in the last week. What do you think of the Gators, Josh, and just the overall outlook if you're a Florida fan when it comes to Sumrall and his ability to recruit here? Level they expect in Gainesville.
It was huge for them to be able to hold on to their top commitment. And I say that because of the segment we just talked about with LSU. The Gators' top commitment, Davian Gross, an elite wide receiver from the state of Texas. So you don't have that same access to him. Like we saw, Lane Kiffin got introduced at LSU on Sunday, and they called up Lamar Brown and asked Lamar, hey, can you come up? Well, he's 20 minutes from campus. Yeah, Lamar Brown showed up on campus and has photos with Lane Kiffin. But Jon Sumrall's top recruit is in the state of Texas. The Sharks are circling. It's not going to be easy to hold on to a top 150 recruit from out of state when you're in the midst of a transition like they are. They're able to hold on to him. I thought that was huge. CJ Bronow was another one that Ohio State offered 3 weeks before signing day. He had already flipped once from Nebraska. He's an in-state Florida from Windermere, Florida. He's an in-state kid, so he ends up sticking it out. KJ Ford. What do you do when Mike Elko's after one of your recruits?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Jon Sumrall, it was Jon Sumrall and Billy Napier. They both held him off because KJ Ford never flipped that commitment. That was huge. Just the ability to hold on to what they had. I know Carson Baker left the class. Maybe there's a couple other pieces that I'm misremembering right now, but for the most part, you did not see a huge defection despite a coach coming from a region that isn't necessarily local or known when it comes to Florida Gator recruiting.
I totally get the optics around Jon Sumrall. He's a G5 coach. Hayes, cut out for the SEC. There's this theory in psychology called activation energy, which essentially says, like, hey, the hardest part is getting started. Once you get that ball rolling, it just keeps rolling. I think that's Jon Sumrall in Florida. If you just get him in the room with some of these guys. Like, I never met the guy, never been in the same room, but I listened to that press conference, and after hearing him talk about Florida and the job he was excited to do, and again, press conferences aren't everything, but if that's the overall temperature and tenor he's going to take to this job, I think he's going to crush it on the recruiting trail. If it truly is just about that and the resources to back him, I think he's going to crush it, Josh.
Yeah, I don't think there's a huge secret. If you put in the effort and you have the right, I think there's like 3 major things that make you a great recruiter. 1 is the effort that you put in. 2 is the logo on your shirt, and 3 is your personality. And you don't even have to have a great personality if the other 2 are really well. And now I guess you add in NIL. That's a big helper too in recruiting. But a little personality, and Sumrall has that football personality. Like you put him in a room at a dance competition, and he probably has no personality. But you put him in a locker room, and he has the right personality. So I think it's an interesting hire. Not necessarily. I think it's interesting because it's the same direction they went last year, which is why so many of the UF fans turned against the hire early on until the presser.
Yeah.
He moved the ball in the presser.
Didn't he ever?
He moved the ball down the field because you had a lot of people on X, a lot of fans on message boards saying, no way you're going to sell me on another G5 hire after Billy Napier flamed out, blah, blah, blah. Well, they were singing a whole different tune after his presser.
He strikes me as the right kind of psychotic.
Yeah.
He strikes me as like the right kind of crazy. And I know people want to do the comp with Napier, Sumrall, same guy. And it's like, well, actually, one played linebacker in the SEC, one played quarterback at Furman. No knock on Furman, but like different personality
You almost always see these coaching changes go in the exact opposite personality. And Billy Napier was calm in the storm. At least these were the selling points. I'm not saying this is how the image he went out with, but when they hired him, he was calm. He came from the Saban tree. He worked his way up, and he's going to have this huge staff, and he's going to be the CEO, and he's going to delegate. Mm-hmm. That's why they hired 100 people army to come recruit. Whereas like Summerall's like no. This is just, not, I don't want to say he's a caveman, but he comes in with that like caveman mentality, which was so different than Billy Napier.
Is that the biggest difference for you between Sumrall and Napier? Maybe from a recruiter perspective.
Yeah, from my perspective. Like, he's just a guy, like a get or done. We're going to get it done with a bunch of wins. We're going to go out and recruit. We're going to play some hard-nosed football.
We're going to hit some people in the mouth.
Yeah.
He's talking about his defense. He goes, we got some killers on that side of the football.
Yeah.
Like,
and they do.
Yes.
They do.
To be fair, Napier didn't leave the cupboard bare.
No, not at all. Yeah, recruiting was not a problem during the Billy Napier tenure.
You know who else doesn't have any problem recruiting, Josh, contrary to losing the top quarterback in America the day before signing day, is the Georgia Bulldogs. Similar discussion with Ohio State losing Brian Hartline. Mm-hmm. Same discussion I want to have with Georgia. It's never a good thing to lose a Jared Curtis. Never a good thing. It doesn't feel good. Obviously it hurts your ranking with Georgia being top 3 going into yesterday, and then now they're floating around. Again, time of us recording, they are number 4. Poor Georgia. They're top 5 in college football when it comes to their recruiting ranking over on Rivals.
They were number 2, and they were very close. I mean, they were number 2 before yesterday. They were very close. They were the only threat to USC, and they would have had to make a big move like a Damian Guyton flipping him from Texas Tech, which did not happen. But when we woke up yesterday, they were at number 2.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where I think Jared Curtis going to Vanderbilt, huge for Vanderbilt. There's no way to downplay that. Yeah. But I look at Georgia, and I'm like, Josh, how many times have you and I sat at this desk?
By the way, Georgia fans are downplaying. There's ways to downplay.
Oh, okay. Well, then in that way, good for y'all. I mean, I'm all the way here for some copium, a special National Signing Day. Yeah. But I go back to this idea of just how many times we've sat at this desk together and talked about someone Georgia's missed on or had flip away. Missed on Caleb Downs, not once, but twice. Missed on Justice Haynes, twice. Missed on Dylan Raiola when he flipped away from them. And Georgia still won the SEC last year. They're going to play for the conference title on Saturday. What's your overall thoughts on just where Georgia stands right now? It's funny, them even being number 4 right now is unusual relative to what they've been since Kirby's been there.
Yeah, at least this time there was no poem.
I'm here for
that's the toughest way to take a decommitment was that Dylan Raiola haiku or whatever that was that he chat GPT'd to get out of his Georgia commitment and head to Nebraska. But the Jared Curtis stuff, kudos to Steve Wiltfong and the boys covering it every step of the way. About 3 weeks ago, his initial report on our channel was that Vanderbilt has a pulse. Well, that pulse just kept beating louder and louder, and then yesterday it all came through. But I can't say enough that Georgia, just because you lose a star quarterback, I mean, yes, it's important, but with the transfer portal these days, I mean, how important is it? Yeah, there's a reason why you liked him in the first place, but knowing that you can go out and find an instant replacement kind of takes that away. But a guy like an Ekene Agboko who committed on our channel.
Nice pronunciation.
Ekene Agboko goes 6'6", 310 pounds. Charles Power now has him as a 5-star on Rivals. Of course, Justice Fitzpatrick. He has great genes. Minka's younger brother. Caden Harris. That was a close one. They get him in the boat. Top 100 defensive back. Jordan Harris. Craig Dandridge is a big-time wide receiver from the state of Georgia. I mean, they did plenty of damage. You had Tyler Atkinson goes to Texas, much like Justice Terry last year. Damian Guyton goes to Texas Tech, so the times are changing a little bit in the state of Georgia. 2 of the top 5 players in the state are heading to the state of Texas, but ultimately getting a Caden Prothro, who ends up being the crown jewel of this class at 6'5.5", 216 pounds, an absolute weapon. He's going to be utilized often and early in Athens. So overall, top to bottom, great class. But that Jared Kurt, I mean, this is one of those, look, no matter what happens between these two programs, they're going to be comparing for the next 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely. I mean, any school in the SEC. And if I'm any school in the SEC, I'm looking up and down this commit list, and I'm like, you're kidding me. They have two top 10 tight ends in pro throw. You mentioned them. Braden Fogel is also a top 10 prospect at the position. Like, death, taxes, and Georgia having elite tight end play, which looks to be the case here going forward. And also, last I checked, Josh, double-digit line of scrimmage commits on the offensive and defensive side. Like, Georgia is going to continue to stack the trenches and be the bully on the block in the SEC. Like, my take on this is I don't care what they're ranked. I don't care who we lose before signing day. Again, this is not taking away from the Jared Curtis at all. But, like, as long as Kirby Smart is my head coach, I am sleeping like a newborn baby, swaddled up and just feeling great about life as long as he's running the show in Athens.
Yeah, and they just go and grab those big athletic bodies. I love PJ Dean, 6'3.5", 255 pounds, athletic as they come, framed to put on more weight. You look at Valdon Stone, S-O-N-E, he committed on our channel. That was our first international commitment. Valdon Stone was in Switzerland when he committed. I believe it was Switzerland, but he was definitely overseas playing his high school ball in Virginia, but from Switzerland. Unbelievable. 6'3.5", 320 pounds. So you see what Georgia likes. They get so many big athletic bodies on campus and then figure the rest out once they're there.
Big people will always move small people, and Georgia will always have big people.
Yeah, and the thing that I like, they take them in numbers. So and they do the same thing on the offensive line because look, when you take these big bodies, like due to injury, due to development, like they're not all going to hit. Just statistically speaking. So you throw numbers at the problem.
They had an offensive line class a couple of years back that legitimately the average measurables were that of like the average NFL.
Yeah, we had a graphic for that. Yeah, I think that was like 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah.
Ridiculous, but that whole trend still is the case in Athens. And if you're a Dogs fan, I know it's tough losing the top quarterback in America. Not telling you to feel good about it, but I am saying Kirby Smart's your head coach, and you should always feel good about that. Let's move on though to the top class today, Josh. More or less could see this being final. Again, I don't want to speak authoritatively, but I don't know how this would change. USC, number 1 class on National Signing Day.
Yeah.
The Trojans, man, the top spot. Life is good in Los Angeles. It's a class that is made up of when it's 78 and sunny every day. It's always a good vibe. A lot of dudes from SoCal here, which is something we've been calling for on this show for some time, is like, hey, lock down that part of the state. You can win at a high level. What does this mean for USC in your mind? Is this kind of a sign of the times with NIL? Is this a sign of the times with Chad Bowden, the new GM out there, a combination of things? How big a deal is this for USC being the top class?
I think it's a glimpse into the future of what USC could be year in, year out if Lincoln Riley has that consistency that we saw this year with winning on the football field. And there's always going to be drama out in Southern California as long as Lincoln Riley's there, but it was pretty quiet. You know, the wins talked louder than anything that happened on or off the field. And the results showed in recruiting. Last year, they went into the state of Georgia early. They had a huge junior day event where they landed Julian Lewis and they landed Isaiah Gibson and Justice Terry, amongst others. There were others that were also committed, and they all ended up leaving the class. And you thought, here we go, USC again, early on, number 1 class. Well, guess what? They didn't build it across the country. They built it right at home, and USC essentially wire to wire. I mean, there may have been a few days where they weren't number 1, but in terms of my memory, I mean, they were pretty much wire to wire number 1 program in America.
It was never a point where you saw USC truly have this fall off, like you mentioned.
Well, the Julian Lewis moment hurt. Obviously, Isaiah Gibson, who was the best pass rusher in America, decommitting. Justice Terry as well. Shamar Arnaud. There was a few others that decommitted. But, yeah, you had some real body blows.
Some gut punch moments, if you will.
Some real gut punch moments.
And then this point in the year, over the course of the summer, USC is picking up big commit after big commit, and it's a SoCal kid. And I remember you and I talking vividly in the office of just what you said. It felt different.
It never felt like the downfall's coming.
There was never the long-distance dating, which we talked about on this show too, is it's far easier to stay together when you can meet up for coffee and you can have them to the Coliseum. You can have them to watch practice. I'm not jumping on FaceTime several hours away on the other side of the country. Right. Much different story.
It's so much about access. Who has access to these players? And when it goes down, like when, if USC were to lose a position coach at a key position, well, they can get those recruits on campus real fast.
Yeah.
They can tell them the plan. They can sit them down and remind them why they're committed to USC. And that helped a lot this cycle. That helped a lot. But not only did they go get local kids, they went out, and you had to win games in order to do this, but they went out and got the best local kids.
That was the biggest part of this conversation throughout this entire season for me, because there was a point, too, for USC during the season where you say, hey, we might be a playoff team here. If we beat Oregon, here we go now. And it was never really – that's exciting, and I'm not telling USC fans to not expect that in the future. But this year, to me, was always about this day, keeping this class intact. Didn't have to be the top-ranked class, but you're a USC fan. You're freaking pumped it's a top-ranked class. Now, also, a lot of big people in this class. Going back to the Georgia model here, it's not quite the same track record as Georgia has in line of scrimmage. But the thing that stuck out to me, Josh, in addition to the SoCal ties here, the number of just big boys on the offensive and defensive line that USC continues to accumulate. Maybe it's not a finished product. Maybe it's not all it needs to be to go win Big Ten titles tomorrow, but it feels like, again, another positive step, more ground gained for the Trojans to be a team that competes at a high level in the Big Ten, and by nature of that, the world of college football.
Yeah, huge wins in the trenches. Luke Wafel, 6'5.5", 255 pounds, back and forth between Ohio State, USC. Night before, it's Ohio State. Morning of, it's USC. Trojans pulled off. We knew Ohio State wasn't going to back down in this recruitment, but Luke Wafel signed, sealed, and delivered to USC. Then you had Kenye Pepe, the 6'7", 325-pound offensive tackle, originally from the state of California, playing high school ball at IMG Academy, Bradenton, Florida. So the Miami Hurricanes never let off the gas there. They thought there was a couple times during the summer they thought they could flip him. USC holds on. That was huge. But those were two of the biggest battles in the trenches, but they got others, and it's a really impressive class.
Just impressive to see. I think oftentimes when narratives in college football exist, it's so hard to get it out of the ditch. And the narrative around USC was not physical, not tough, not good enough on the line of scrimmage, and just they've kept their head down. They've made the appropriate changes, seemingly playing ball on the NIL front to get the group they have right now in this class. And good vibes.
Great haul.
Folks in,
great haul.
Now, just behind them, the rival, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Right now, holding strong at the 2 spot. Obviously, this is all in real time, but Notre Dame currently the second-ranked class over on Rivals. It looks like a July ranking for the Irish, does it not? I mean, you and I have talked multiple times, too, over the course of a summer of Notre Dame's trending. They got a big list of visitors for any given part of the year in South Bend where it's warmer weather and then it gets to cold weather and then it gets to the latter part of the year, and you're like, man, I don't know if I want to go all the way out to South Bend, Indiana, when I could go to insert whatever SEC school here. That hasn't been the case here for this group. Phenomenal haul for the Irish.
Number 2 class in America. Last year they finished number 12. You're right. Last year and the year before, one of the stories of Notre Dame recruiting was the decommitment. We had Mike Martin, Notre Dame GM, on the signing day show, and he made a great point. He reiterated, hey, we didn't have any decommitments in this cycle. Nada. Zero. And that's why they finished number 2 in America. Obviously, the run to the championship last year helped this class a lot. You start the cycle with that traction on the trail. Marcus Freeman hitting on all cylinders, and they took it and they won some big games this year. They won some big recruitments. They're going to have a chance to finish number 1 in 2027. Notre Dame is rolling on the recruiting trail right now, and I think decommitments are just a symptom of the things that are going right in South Bend. It's not like the lack of decommitments isn't to be celebrated. It's the other things that are going right is the reason why.
I like that you said that. And I think your point about the playoff run's a great one. We sat in here after watching Notre Dame beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, and it felt like at the very least it was a advantageous recruiting pitch at that point to make for Marcus Freeman. Hey, if you want to go to one of those other schools in the SEC, more power to you, but we're offering you, and we just beat the team that won that conference. So, again, it's your choice, but you see the list of names here and where they're from. You got North Carolina on here. You got Florida on here. You got just a bunch
Georgia,
it's
Texas.
It's a lot of guys that wouldn't go to South Bend previously.
They went into the state of Texas, landed Javian Osborne out of Forney, Texas, elite running back. Caden Finley, his father, Jermichael Finley, played in the NFL. I believe he played for Texas, so he's a legacy in that program. Notre Dame lands him. They did an incredible job. Jonas Walton, committed on the Rivals Recruits channel. He's from Carrollton, Georgia. So I think when I look at the Notre Dame class, the two biggest takeaways I got, yes, they finished number 2 in America, but I think they loaded up at 2 positions. Pass rusher and playmakers, whether it be running back, wide receiver, whatever it is. Honestly, a lot of these, some of the wide receivers could line up in the backfield, vice versa.
Sure.
But you also got pass rushers, the crown jewel of the class, Rodney Dunham. He is from North Carolina, 6'4", 225 pounds, top 20 player in America. So we're talking 1% of 1%. He's the number 5 ranked player at his position. Just from top to bottom, hitting on the biggest needs, but I do think the biggest needs were probably pass rusher and playmaker.
And you spoke to Finley a second ago. NFL legacy, kind of a theme across this class.
Yeah, they got a couple.
Fitzgerald. I think it's a total of 3 across the board here for the Irish.
Yeah, we did a short on this, actually. I can't remember. But, yes, it is a point. There was Thomas Davis Jr. Yeah, his dad played for the Carolina Panthers.
A kid who I believe his dad played at Georgia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So you got a lot of talent on this commit list. It's going to be exciting, and they just did a phenomenal job. Credit to Mike Martin and Marcus Freeman of no decommitments. That is a very rare feat in this day and age of recruiting.
And the NFL legacy piece we talked about on the signing day show, but I wanted to make sure we say it again. The fact that NFL parents are having these conversations with Freeman and Mike Martin and saying, how is your program run? Obviously, I want you to develop my kid. Do I trust you with this kid who's got these NFL genes, all those things? And the fact that the answer is, for those 3 prospects, yes. When Larry Fitzgerald's saying yes to your football program to develop his son, I think that speaks volumes to just what's actually happening under the hood. Because Larry Fitzgerald's not getting fooled by any of your recruiting pitches or your cool visit pictures. Like, he knows what it's about, and the fact that he's saying yes, I mean, it just can't say enough good things about Notre Dame at this point.
No matter where you put, parents are still just parents, and they're just trying to help their son make the best decision that they can. But I agree, you almost had a consensus here. Almost all the NFL legacy prospects committed to Notre Dame, so it's kind of crazy. But I think there's more to it, like you said.
And the theme we've seen for the Irish, man. Well, let's wrap this show up, Josh. Talking a little Tennessee here. The Vols have been sort of all over these rankings.
Some late action here.
Late action for the Vols, man. They ended up grabbing Legend Bay, flipped him from Ohio State. But I want to look at the top of this class here. You got
hold on.
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Legend Bay was committed to Tennessee for about 3 months, and then 3 weeks ago flipped his commitment to Ohio State.
Flip back over if you're the Vols.
They just flipped him back. They said, you're not done yet. Let's flip you back over. Cook you on the other side one more time. But
like it well done.
I mean, that's crazy. But in this day and age, we've seen that. I mean, right now, I don't know, as we tape this, if Landon Duck, there's a couple prospects that committed to schools a couple times. Most notably, Jared Curtis.
Yep.
Committed to Georgia twice before flipping to Vanderbilt. Landon Duckworth committed to South Carolina twice. Might flip to LSU. Maybe already has. He might be delaying his recruitment. That's what we've been hearing. So it could be tomorrow, Friday. We'll see what happens there. Shadarius Tootle flipped from Auburn to Georgia and back to Auburn.
Okay.
And stuck. And now Legend Bay. Tennessee to Ohio State, back to Tennessee. So it is crazy. These are things that even though recruiting was crazy in a much different way 10, 15 years ago, we didn't see this. Like when a recruit would break up with a school, that was it.
Sure.
It was like a relationship ended. It was just a known that we're not going to recruit him. He's not going to be interested in us. We're moving on. And nowadays, that's not the case.
It can't be the case, especially if they go with the transfer portal. I think back to Caleb Downs and him ending up picking Alabama, but Ohio State's in the mix.
Right.
He's on a visit to Ohio State the last game of the regular season to watch them play Michigan, and then hits the portal a year later, ends up at Ohio State by nature of Ohio State being Johnny on the spot. But for this class for Tennessee, Josh, look at the top 2 commits here. Faison Brandon and Tristan Keys. 5-star quarterback, 5-star receiver. Big takeaway here. The big play ain't going anywhere in Knoxville. The big play that Josh Heupel likes to dial up when they get the run game going, hit you over the top with the pass game, that will still be intact with the number 2 overall wide receiver, Tristan Keys, and top 5 quarterback, Faison Brandon, excuse me.
Yeah, Faison Brandon,
huge.
Committed early. There was nothing with Faison Brandon for Tennessee fans to worry about. I don't think he took many visits at all, and his only ones he did take were to Knoxville. And then you got Tristan Keys. He was the number one wide receiver recruit in America, finishes at number 2 at his position, only behind Chris Henry Jr. But Tristan Keys, much like DeCorian Moore, was committed to LSU early. DeCorian Moore flipped to the Oregon. Tristan Keys flipped to Tennessee. And I was one of the ones that thought, oh, this won't be the last we hear Tristan Keys. It was. Tennessee, whatever they did, when they flipped him, they locked him in. Tristan Keys loved taking visits. He must have taken plenty of them. They hold him. Celeste Moa, the third highest rated prospect on that commit list, 6'2", 175 athlete, was being recruited heavily at the end by Michigan. They hold that one off. And then, like we just said, Legend Bay.
Yeah.
Getting Legend Bay back in the fold is almost as valuable. I'm telling you, I know Tristan Keys is ranked considerably higher than him. Legend Bay is an absolute playmaker. I think he'll line up in the slot. He could be in the backfield. He could be anywhere on the field. Punt return, he can do it. They got some playmakers coming.
And we've seen Josh Heupel, too, not to say anything less of what they have on the roster right now, but Faison Brandon and his raw skill set is very different than the raw skill set of a Joey Aguilar when you get him into the fold. So the fact that you have this kind of raw ingredients to work with for Tennessee, to me, every single year, Josh, they're just continuing to close that talent gap between them and the Georgias and the Bamas of the world, and I think we're going to see that continue to shape up here with where they stand on Saturdays in the fall.
Yeah, they had a great class. Number 7 in the country, moved up from number 10. I think they might have even been 11 to start the day, or at least start the day yesterday.
Yeah.
But Tennessee was probably one of the biggest movers today on signing day.
Good for Josh Heupel, and also the alignment at Tennessee to have the resources to go to bat, to land a class like this. This is modern college football. If you're willing to care enough, to invest enough in your recruiting efforts, you're able to get the dividends. And so when NIL became a thing, Tennessee was one of those brands and schools you circled and said, okay, that might be one that gets activated here pretty quick, fast, in a hurry. Any closing thoughts here on Tennessee, Josh?
No, just, a really good class. Rounded it out with some great talent. Like I said, Braden Rouse is another exciting player at linebacker. Tyreek King, an explosive wide receiver. Oh, they flipped Carter Gooden today. That was another big piece, right? Carter Gooden out of Maine. He goes 6'4", 260 pounds, was committed to UCLA.
Okay, there we go.
Had a lot of contenders coming for him down the stretch, obviously, because UCLA is kind of in flux here, having a rough year. But Carter Gooden is another big flip for Tennessee on signing day. You don't see a whole lot of action, but there was a lot of action in Knoxville.
Same way I feel good about Georgia because of Kirby Smart. Feel good about Notre Dame because of Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
I think you right now put Tennessee in that same category. You feel good about the Vols on the recruiting trail, on the field, because of who their head coach is, and they won Josh Heupel. Well, Josh, speaking of Josh's, appreciate you making time, man. This has been awesome.
No, we had a great time. We're going to do it every year for signing day. This is after the wrap-up. We do the wrap-up here.
This is the after party,
Yeah,
if
this
you
is the
will.
after party. I
So
love it.
The real party happens on the Rivals channel. Make sure you go check out that live show. If you haven't already, go watch it back. All the madness throughout the day. Josh Newberg, Steve Wiltfong, and your boy riding shotgun. So subscribe to the Rivals recruiting channel if you haven't already. Also, Josh, just to segue us out of here, last night, the penultimate, second to last college football playoff rankings happened. We reacted to those in the studio in real time, so we're going to play that for you right now. But Josh, thank you again. Happy signing day, and we'll do this again here real soon.
Yeah, thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed the day. Let's get ready for a great 2027.
Here are the rankings. Love y'all. As Reese Davis said, the penultimate college football playoff rankings, or for those of us that speak English, the second to last college football playoff rankings. There's a lot to unpack with this one, man. Listen, I've said many times I think this committee is doing a good job. I don't think one ranking should change our opinion on this committee necessarily. I'm kind of just upset at everybody right now. I'm upset at the committee. I'm upset at the structure. I'm upset that I got ESPN showing me a side-by-side graphic of Duke and JMU. No disrespect to either side of that equation, but just like, can we be adults here? So what I want to do is go through these rankings, and then I want to go and talk about just the structure we're working with right now and just do our best to take an absolute bat to that thing. So I want to start at 14 because you got the Vanderbilt Commodores from the Southeastern Conference who won 10 football games, whose only losses are to a team that looks like they should be in the college football playoff, in Alabama, who's playing for the conference title this weekend, and to Texas, who just beat the number 3 team in America by 10 points and who's ranked number 13 ahead of them. Vanderbilt's not getting in the college football playoff. I know Hunter Yurachek said, well, hey, listen, if you're idle doesn't mean we're not going to move you after conference title week. Come on, it's Big Daddy Hunter Yurachek over here. I can do whatever I want to do as the head of the College Football Playoff Committee. Vandy's not getting in. And Diego Pavia may win the freaking Heisman Trophy. My point in all this is don't talk to me about SEC bias anymore. Just don't do it. Like, I understand it's fun and it's low-hanging fruit and it gets you a lot of likes on Twitter when you say, oh, they hate our conference. They're all for the SEC, ESPN, SEC. They're doing the whole thing. Vandy's 10-2. And they're going to miss the college football playoff. Miss me with the SEC bias stuff. Texas at 13, and I don't have anything to say about Texas relative to like trying to push them into this top 12. They're 9-3. Now, here's the difference. Should Texas be in the college football playoff versus what would they do if they got into the college football playoff? Two different conversations. You put Texas in, who's to say they can't win a football game? Who's to say they can't get hot and win 2 football games? They just beat Texas A&M, again, by 10 points. We all were saying A&M could win a national championship before last week. So, like, I don't have a governor on what Texas could do, but going back to the discussion, like, our hands are a little bit tied here with that loss to Florida. Texas at 13, probably about where you would imagine they finish. Now, Miami at 12. Listen, if you're a Hurricane fan and you're shouting from the rooftops, why the heck are we not ahead of Notre Dame? I hear you. I get it. I think the Notre Dame conversation is a little bit more relative to like how the Notre Dame trust factor is in the committee. We'll get to that in a second. My point in all this is I think the committee doesn't know what to do with y'all. I think they put y'all at 18 in the first rankings, and ever since then they've sort of been trying to make up for it. I think that first meeting they were like, Miami's going to lose another game. Don't worry about it. Put them somewhere near the top 20. Put them in the teens. Still a talented football team, but like we all understand now that Notre Dame win was great, but Miami, they're not done losing. 18's a good spot for them. And then Miami kept reeling off wins, and they finished the year 10-2. Now the committee's like, shoot, where we have Notre Dame again? Okay, we do say we value head-to-head. The games do have to matter at some point, right? Like, what do we do here, y'all? So my point in all this is I really think they don't know what to do. Hunter Yurachek, again, said if you're not playing on conference title weekend, from how I read this whole thing, different than last year, you may end up moving if you don't play a game. Now, how does that work? I don't know. But the game that I would watch if I was a Miami fan, I'm watching number 11 BYU and their game against Texas Tech. You're hoping that BYU loses in a impressive enough fashion to where Miami gets to jump up there, and then maybe you get some other chaos in the SEC title game. I don't see a world here. I don't agree with it where Miami gets left out of gets into the college football playoff rather. And I get that's just a weird discussion to have because a team that you beat head to head and you have the same record and you've done better against 3 or 4 common opponents. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't really agree with it. I think the committee really shot themselves in the foot with that first ranking. But this is kind of where we are right now. And if you're looking for answers from me, I don't have them. I don't agree with it is all I can say. I don't agree with it. I think Miami should be in the college football playoff. And this goes to the whole structure conversation we're going to have after we kind of round out these rankings. Now, BYU at 11. I don't think you're safe if you lose the Big 12 title game. Now, the cut line seems to be at 10 anyway, so that discussion is sort of a moot point. But here's the thing. BYU looks like, how I'm reading this thing, you got some crumble cookie money, making boss moves, controlling your own destiny, keeping Kalani Sitake. That is the theme of this weekend for you. Life and this weekend is all about controlling your own destiny. Don't let them have that conversation around what do you do with BYU and where do you rank them and, could they have done this or that? Like, again, the cut line seems to be at 10. You beat Texas Tech, you're in the college football playoff. Live that way. So go beat Texas Tech, BYU, and get 2 teams from the Big 12 into the college football playoff. Now, the seeding, the ESPN graphic is just hilarious because this speaks to just how ridiculous the structure is. We are going into conference title weekend, and we're talking about 2 college football playoff spots being assigned to question marks of the 4th highest ranked conference champion and the 5th highest ranked conference champion. So to give a quick spark notes here, the American Athletic Conference title game between Tulane and North Texas will be for one of those spots. If JMU wins the Sun Belt and Duke ends up beating Virginia, you will get 2 teams from the G5 into the college football playoff. I don't really have a take there for you other than the fact that, again, a Duke and JMU graphic from ESPN side by side as to who should be in the college football playoff and how that should work. If JMU wins and Duke wins, you put Duke in. Something like, again, funny discussion. We ride, and that's just kind of how this whole thing is looking as it stands right now. But that's kind of the explainer, if you will, for those 2 spots. Now, Notre Dame at 10, them being down a spot from last week, going back to the whole we don't know what to do with Miami discussion, feels like a concession of sorts there because the explanation from Hunter Yurachek, and the guy's got the toughest job in America here, make no mistake about it. He makes a list every single week and then has to go on TV and explain it, which is a tough deal. It feels like to me they're saying, listen, We don't really know what we're doing with Miami. Somebody's got to pay the piper here. Notre Dame, we're going to move you down a spot. Because the reasoning was Alabama beat Auburn and looked good in the first half. Alabama ran the football well, so therefore we're going to have them jump Notre Dame, even though Notre Dame absolutely boat raced. Sweet Gucci leather belt to behind against Stanford on the road, and we're going to go ahead and say, sorry, it wasn't good enough. Bama looked more impressive against Auburn in a rivalry game. Nobody loves rivalry games more than your boy. But honestly, I don't know if that was enough for me to definitively say, let's go ahead and switch those teams around. Now, Bama, with you being at 9, I keep saying this, and the more I say it and the further along we get in these rankings, I don't know how much I believe it, but I'll keep on saying it. I think that either way, whether you beat Georgia or you lose, or if you beat Georgia, obviously, in the college football playoff, and you think you are in position to get a bye, question mark on the end of that. If you lose to Georgia and get left out of the college football playoff, Greg Sankey will go to absolute war for your conference. Believe you me. Because here's the thing. This is the last guaranteed year, to my understanding, of the 12-team college football playoff, meaning everyone in the conferences, the overseers of their respective conferences, the commissioners, are going to get in a room and have discussions about the future of the college football playoff format. If you leave the SEC conference title runner-up out of the 12-team dance because they played on conference title weekend, Greg Sankey will make it rain. And not in a positive way with dollar bills. It will be absolute rage, fury, and hey, we're going to go take our ball and play somewhere else. I'm not saying I support that. I'm just telling you what's going to happen. Again, I'm not telling you that's what I would do. I'm telling you Greg Sankey, I have to believe, by my estimation, would make some very big changes and act with the rage of 1,000 waterfalls. All right, but again, Bama, if you lose the conference title game, I'll be surprised if you get left out. You getting moved up a spot is the reason why I feel that way. Oklahoma at 8. No real discussion there. They keep on finding ways to win. They're 10-2. I think Oklahoma has proven they should be in the college football playoff, especially with the Hunger Games schedule they had. A&M at 7 felt like a pretty big drop to me. Just keep it a buck with y'all. I would have probably put A&M in that 5 or 6 spot. I mean, you lost on the road to a top 15 team, and that's your only loss of the season. I don't know. Kind of sits funny with me, but it is what it is. Ole Miss at 6. I'm just glad they didn't drop them, honestly. I don't know if I would have moved Ole Miss up, going back to my A&M point, but I'm glad they didn't do the whole, you lost Lane Kiffin, so therefore we view you differently. And if they had made that argument, I would have understood it, because I think Lane Kiffin, being the offensive mastermind that he is, makes a big difference. But I also think that Charlie Weiss, coaching your team through the college football playoff, the OC for Ole Miss, is a big reason why you didn't see them move at all. I also think that the committee is like, hey, we saw the backlash from the whole Jordan Travis Florida State thing. Understandably, though, like quarterback and head coach, different impacts. Like one touches the football every single play of a football game. The other is on a headset for the entirety of the game. So not one-to-one comparison there. But I do think the committee was like, hey, we probably can't make that move. We definitely can't make the move on Selection Sunday. I think if the committee were going to drop Ole Miss because of Lane Kiffin, they would have done it in this ranking. So Ole Miss, you're hosting a college football playoff game is my interpretation there. Oregon at 5, good with it. Texas Tech at 4, good with it. Georgia at 3, Indiana at 2, Ohio State at 1. No real notes there. But like I mentioned, I wanted to just have a quick discussion about the structure of this thing. Doesn't it kind of suck we're talking about having this conference champion, who gets 11 and who gets 12, when we have teams like a Vanderbilt, like a Miami, like a BYU, whose only loss this year is to a top 5 team in college football on the road. And we're talking about who's getting that 11 and 12 spot. Doesn't that sit a little bit funny with anybody? And listen, I'm sort of the old man yelling at the cloud here because it's not going to change. But just understand how stupid this is. And this isn't even me being anti-G5. The tricky part about this discussion is whenever you open your mouth and say, why are we doing auto bids? Why are we doing is you sound like you're against half the sport. I'm not anti-G5. If there's 3 G5 teams that are good enough to be in that top 12, put them in there. I'm all the way for it. Last year with Boise State, I was like, yeah, they deserve to be in there. Take auto bids away. Boise State's still a top 10 team in college football a year ago. A couple years ago with Cincinnati being a top 4 team. Absolutely they deserve to be in there. I was carrying the flag for the Bearcats as a G5 team making the college football playoff when that whole thing was going down in the 4-team era. But when we're talking about a 7-5 Duke, maybe catching a break if JMU loses their conference title game in the Sun Belt Championship. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what if it's supposed to be the best 12 teams, then why are we not talking about the best 12 teams? We're talking about the best 7 teams, but also these conference title ties. And listen, I'm not naive enough to believe this isn't about money. I totally get that. But this whole structure is so stupid. And I just had to say it on camera, and I hope this resonates with you as a college football fan. This is not about the best 12 teams.
And so some of this, you say, committee, I'd like for you to maybe do that Notre Dame Miami thing differently. I'm here for that. But the structure of it all really puts the committee in a tough spot. So the fact that we're talking about a team that is admittedly not ranked in the top in the top 12 in Virginia, this isn't me being anti-ACC. I'm just like, let's put the best ACC team in to the college football playoff, and let's reward Virginia some other way. If we want to go about it that way, we can talk about that later. But you hear where I'm coming from. Let's talk about the best 12 teams. Cade and I were talking before the show, and he was adamant. He's like, I think we got the best 12 teams if we just did straight seeding. And I don't think he's wrong. Anybody going to be upset we put Miami in there and BYU in there with the years they've had to this point and what they've shown on the actual field? Like, missing with all the conference title stuff, we've said this for a long time. If we just dashed away auto bids and said, I don't care about your conference logo, give me the best 12 teams, I think that'd be a better way to go about it. But alas, we'll watch the games, we'll talk about the games. We are not complaining about the greatest sport on the face of planet Earth, but we are complaining about the structure here because I think the people in charge are not actually interested in having the best 12 teams in the playoff. They're more so interested in just lining their pockets. So it is what it is. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Really quick, we'll touch on these matchups. Interesting, we got a little rematch there in Norman in the first round with Bama and Oklahoma. That'd be interesting because a lot of turnovers went into that win for Oklahoma. Are they able to replicate that in a game against Bama? Remains to be seen. And then Notre Dame and A&M, having that one played in College Station as opposed to South Bend. That one came down to a missed holding call and a botched field goal hold. Like, I'm here for a rerun of that. That'd be a lot of fun. And then, again, the question marks there in the bottom half of that bracket just kind of pissed me off. So it is what it is. But, again, comment section, subscribe, let me know your thoughts, how you feel about these rankings, and if you get as worked up as we do when it comes to the structure of this whole thing. But it is what it is. Ball up top. We'll talk about it. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Cato on the ones and the twos. Myself, Judy PicKell. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all.